You're listening to Systemic Era Podcast. The failure was designed.
Trump loyalist heckled and booed at Harstall Town Hall, based on an article by Thomas Keeper. Booed in Bellevue because the lie is wearing thin. Power has a name. Bruh. Mike Flood did not stumble into a misunderstanding with his constituents. He stood in front of them as a Republican lawmaker, defended Trump's agenda, and took the heat for a governing program that his party helped pass and continues to sell. The crowd in Bellevue was not confused about who runs the institutions. They were reacting to the people who use those institutions to cut deals, narrow rights, and call it common sense. The sales pitch. The source is straightforward about the setting. Flood held a town hall in Nebraska's 1st District and tried to tout Trump and GOP accomplishments in a district that still leans Republican. That is the context. The substance was uglier. He defended the one big beautiful bill, praised the administration's handling of Medicaid, endorsed a citizenship-proof voting bill that would make mail voting harder, and repeated the usual pro-Israel line, while the crowd pushed back hard. That is not a communications problem. It is a policy problem. What the boos were about. Flood said the bill protected Medicaid for the most vulnerable, including disabled people, older people, and people with mental illness. The crowd booed because that kind of language has become the preferred mask for austerity. Harm is renamed stewardship. Exclusion is called protection, and vulnerable people are treated as a rhetorical prop for the very cuts that threaten them. The same pattern showed up again when he praised the Save America Act. Proof of citizenship and attacks on mail-in ballots are not neutral election housekeeping. They are a partisan effort to make participation harder while dressing the restriction up as integrity. The real purpose is control, not clarity. A donor line. Flood also drew resistance when he praised the U.S.-Israel partnership, and the source notes that he had received more than $48,000 from pro-Israel PACs as of April. That matters because it shows the shape of the relationship. Elected officials do not just have views on foreign policy. They are financed by networks that reward specific positions and expect loyalty in return. So when voters booed, they were not only rejecting a talking point. They were rejecting the political class's habit of treating donor-backed orthodoxy as if it were public interest. Not confusion, consequence. The source describes the town hall as Harstall, but Harstall is too soft for what it actually signals. This was not random moodiness from an angry crowd. It was accountability arriving in the only form many voters still get: interruption, heckling, open contempt. The stronger point is that Flood's district has not become more radical. The governing coalition has become more contemptuous. Trump's second-term politics, as the source notes, have already produced repeated Harstall town halls for Flood. That is what happens when officials spend months defending Medicaid threats, war escalation, ballot restrictions, and a president whose agenda is sold as populism while serving power, donors, and discipline. The pattern. This is the recurring Republican method. Consolidate power, trigger backlash, then portray the backlash as irrational anger rather than a rational response to policy. It is misdirection by design. The same officials who help produce the damage want to present themselves as victims of tone and temperament. Bellevue cuts through that. Constituents recognize the author of the harm. They booed the salesman, not because he was rude enough to deserve it, but because he was standing in for a project that keeps asking the public to swallow shrinkage, exclusion, and democratic hardening as if they were prudence. Systemic error. The deeper lesson is not that one Republican had a bad night. It is that the gap between governing power and public consent is widening, and Republicans keep trying to bridge it with propaganda instead of legitimacy. When people can still interrupt the script, they expose how much of modern conservatism depends on ceremony, donor money, and the presumption that resistance will stay quiet. Bellevue did not fix that. It just made the fracture visible. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to AlterNet for today's article. With the automated voice of Riza, thanks for listening.